What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hangover. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me, as always, Shannon White. Shannon, how you doing, my man? How's your weekend? How was your weekend?
Oh, we had a great Mother's Day weekend because we
Mhm.
celebrated my wife on Saturday. We took her out and did things, and then yesterday I grilled out steaks and all. And we celebrated with my mom, and so it was a great weekend for all.
Yeah, here too, man. It was a Mother's Day weekend, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers
Yes.
out there. Happy Mother's Day to my mom and to my wife. It was also my little one's first birthday. She just turned one.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's been on Earth the whole year now. It's
Well, happy
been
birthday. Tell her I said happy birthday.
For sure, for sure. It's just time goes by so quick. I mean, it just seems
Oh
like
yeah.
yesterday that we're going to the hospital and she was coming into the world. So, yeah, it was an exciting weekend, and it was also an exciting weekend for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they had a rookie mini camp. A lot of possible questions answered. You know, none bigger than Troy Fatuanu playing right tackle at this portion of the offseason. How big do you think that is, and what do you think about that?
Well, he said after the first day that, of course, he lined up on the right side, but they hadn't told him anything specific yet. But it seems like he stayed on the right side, which kind of gives us an indication that they do want to move Broderick Jones to the left, where he was originally drafted to play. And Fiatu has no problem playing the right side, in my opinion. There'll be a small adjustment, but the man's feet is so great. His feet are so smooth that I think he'll adjust to the right side, no problems. And so I'm excited about that. They really need him to be able to hold down that right side. I think to have the best unit, I think it's better to have Jones on the left and him on the right. And so I'm very excited about it. He really, you just see how athletic he is. I mean, how smooth he is. Everything he does. We talked about it a little last year with Keanu Benton. That when Benton doesn't have his uniform and pads on, you can't tell if he's a fullback or tight end because he's proportional. His build, he's just like just an
Mhm.
athlete. Some guys are real top heavy or well, that's how Fiano is. He's just the guy is incredibly athletic and proportional. So I'm excited about his potential.
Do you think that him moving over to the right side at this point of the off season, I think it'll be a real indication. You know, come training camp, I mentioned this before that I thought that it's probably best to play the player in the position that you want him to be in at this, starting off right now,
Mm-hmm.
early on. None of this, there's going to be some sort of fake competition that's going to go on and you're going to split reps because in my opinion, if you're going to start two rookies on the offensive line, you best start, you know, getting them those reps right now.
Exactly.
Be-
Early.
yeah, because chemistry is a huge component for the offensive line, and I think that we'd be fools not to think that there's going to be some growing pains, but we can kind of minimize how long those growing pains are going to be if we start implementing these guys in the position that we expect them to play. Now, I understand you don't want to give it to anybody and things like that. You want them to earn it, but where's that line for you on them earning the position and them not necessarily given the position, but being put in position, like, given all the reps and things like that, which may signify that they are given the position. Where does that line draw for you?
Well, I think the reps are very important for Fianto because he needs as many as possible to gain comfort. Anytime we do something, more reps, the more times you do it, and if you're fully invested and you're working hard, it should become more and more comfortable. It should become more natural, instinctive. Now, I've said all along, I would still like to see them throughout training camp at the least, even in the preseason some. Because, again, the young guys need more reps. Let Jones start at left and let Fianu play right, but then switch him at some point. Let him work both sides. because they are both capable of doing that. The reason I say that is because if, heaven forbid, one of them go down for an extended period, if they keep Dan Moore Jr., he is not a swing tackle. He is strictly left, according to what the coaches say. So if something would happen to Jones, they would have to put Dan Moore Jr. there on the left side. If something happens to Fatanu, you're going to have to bring Jones over to the right. So I say play him, let him play both sides during the training camp and preseason when it doesn't matter, and get them that experience before the snaps really do matter.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense as well. It'd just be interesting to see how the Steelers plan on doing this. Zach Frazier, he's been playing the center position. I think he's going to be not necessarily given the position, but I think he's in the pole position, no doubt, for that job there. What have you heard about Zach Frazier out of rookie minicamp? And I don't know, we have to take the news with a little bit of grain of salt. This is football and shirts and shorts. There's no pads or any of those type of things. So what have you heard, and anything you like or dislike when it comes to Zach Frazier so far?
Well, I loved his answers after the first day of rookie camp. He's always been a leader. I mean, he's renowned for that. He was in high school. He was at WVU. But he says, I've got to take care of my business. I've got to learn the playbook. I got to learn everybody's responsibilities. Then I can start becoming a leader. So he's not walking in saying, hey, I'm the new center. I'm the second-round draft pick. I'm the guy everybody wanted. Now y'all going to listen to me. That ain't how you earn respect. That ain't how you become a leader. You become a leader by excelling in what you do, and then you set an example, and you earn the respect of your line mates. And he's got the right attitude. He's not coming in thinking this is my position, as far as I don't have to earn it. They're already handing it to me. Even though it appears that he will be the starter. I mean, he's definitely the most talented center on the roster by a long shot. Mm-hmm. And I don't see him signing anybody else, because I believe that they're going to count on him being the starter. And I believe that they're going to work Spencer Anderson in. Some rumors that Spencer Anderson is going to be worked in, trying to be the backup, and Mason McCormick is another option. Mm-hmm. Because Mason McCormick is surprising people already with his versatility, his intelligence, and he's a brawler. So Nate Herbig might have a real issue making this roster. I hope everybody's ready. Don't be shocked if Nate Herbig struggles to make this roster.
Interesting. Yeah, I think you got a couple of points there. But this is I think the last year for both of the guards there, Sayamalu and James Daniels, if I'm correct, or does Sayamalu have another year?
I think Sayamalu would have. It was a 3-year deal, so I think he'd have another
one
year.
More, right?
Where Daniels is on the final year.
This is his final year. A lot of talk has been that McCormick might be the replacement for James Daniel. James is fairly young. I think he's in his mid-20s still. Isaac Sayamalu is already on the wrong side of 30, so to speak. Yeah. Although I think with offensive line, I think those guys can play. A few more years. They're not so reliable on their athleticism, so to speak. At the top end of their career, they have a lot of, they can put themselves in position and, wily veteran type of moves.
Exactly.
And things of that nature. And so, I think it's kind of common, or maybe not so much common, but it's not uncommon to see a very talented offensive lineman have a 8, 9, 10-year career. With that being said, who do you think that is first up for the replacement? Is it going to be James Daniels because he's a free agent? Or do you think that they're looking at Isaac Sayamalu's age and thinking that could be, there might be an end to that tunnel soon?
Personally, I'm okay with older linemen, older players in general, but older linemen, same thing with Cam Hayward on the defensive line. I'm okay with that until you see them hit that wall. And then what usually happens is injuries start to mount. They become more frequent. They're harder to get over. As we get older, we know it takes longer to get over an ailment, much less a serious injury. So I would prefer that Daniels be the answer long term because he's substantially, I think, 4 years younger than Samalu. And, there's no reason McCormick, it might take him a year or two to develop into a starter after coming from FBS. So there's really not a rush, a sense of urgency to get him in there. But you do want to be able to work out another contract with Daniels, and you have a little leverage that way. Mm-hmm. Because I think Daniels will be in more demand than people realize. As far as I know, he's not been credited with giving up a sack in 2 years.
Wow. I think he struggled a little bit in preseason. His first year here. Yeah, and I think that kind of stuck with him a little bit. Because it was pretty bad the first year that he was here, and during preseason in the first couple of weeks there. But you're absolutely right. He's been very formidable. He's been, if he hasn't allowed a sack, that's an amazing stat.
Look at the massive upgrade on both sides of him. You have Fuiantu on the right, good Lord willing, and Frazier at center. Daniels should be smiling because, there was a lot of times that I seen him come off of his guy and get a chip block or something and save a potential sack. When, especially last year where Cole struggled. And we know Okorafor had his moments. So the Steelers line should be vastly improved.
No, I agree. And you make a valid point there with the improvement of the offensive line surrounding James Daniels. This should improve the his play as well. It's not going to be solely focused on him. He's a leader type, in my opinion. And so having those young guys around him as well, they're going to lean on him. And I think it's going to be it'll be you're going to have your bumps and bruises, your speed bumps here in the beginning. But I think by probably around the first quarter of the season, I really truly expect that this offensive line, willing that injuries aren't an issue, are going to be one of the top offensive line in this year. And
I seen where PFF, and you know how we feel about their grades.
True.
But some of them passed the eye test. But they said that Samalu did left guard last year. That he had the best season, but was the most underrated left guard. So that shows that, he graded out well, and we all seen it. As the year went on, the two guards were the Steelers easily their most consistent linemen.
Yeah. Yeah. Who do you see, Seumalo? I'm assuming it's going to be either Seumalo or James Daniel, as the captain of the offensive line, their leader, so to speak. I know that back in the day, Marquise Pouncer was the captain, and he spoke, and the offensive line followed him. Which one of these guys do you see taking on that role? Maybe not right now. Maybe it's, if it's one of these rookies, it might take some time. But who do you see as that eventual leader of the offensive line?
Well, it was funny you said that because this week at rookie camp, they put Samalu and Fatanu's lockers next to each other because they knew that he would need to ask him a lot of questions, being a rookie and help him get prepared. And he says that he knows that Samalu is a man of few words. Everybody always says it about him. He doesn't talk a lot, but when he does, it has meaning. There's some, he has some real authority there, and there's a lot of respect for him. And with, as you said, with his age and his skill level and what he's already accomplished, I believe that he will be the captain of the line until Frazier's ready to assume that.
Good deal. So Frazier's a bit of a captain himself there at WVU.
Always. I mean, that's his personality. And he leads by example. Nobody outworks Frazier. Nobody. He lives in the weight room. He lives in film study. He eats, drinks, and sleeps football. And everybody respects him. A lot of the guys on West Virginia's line were 3-year starters with him. And they all have spoken since he was drafted like Doug Nestor, I think was undrafted, but he was signed as an undrafted free agent with the Minnesota Vikings, and I thought he'd be a great value for a guard. He can even play sub tackle, but he spoke glowingly of their friendship and the leader that Frazier was. But a natural leader, it isn't so much what they say; it's what they do.
Yeah, yeah. And Steelers Freak brings up a great point. He said that Frazier has a pickup truck. He doesn't live too
Yep.
far, so he
Mhm.
had access to a vehicle. He picked up the two other rookie offensive linemen and took them together to camp. It's a good sign. I do think it is as well. It's a sign
That's
of a
how you
leader.
bond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a sign of bonding. It's a sign of a leader. It's a sign of good things to come, in my opinion, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And none better than the running backs. I think that those guys are pretty happy with the offensive line that is being built up in front of them. Now, I don't know if we got too far in deep with some of the rumors about Najee Harris. They're still kind of looming around. What are your thoughts now after some time has passed? There's been some rumors that he wanted out. There's been rumors that his agent, declined those rumors, things like that. Where do you sit on it now, a week later? Do you think that there was something to that?
I read yesterday that the latest rumors, and until I hear the players say it themselves
Mhm.
or the Steelers come out and say it, I call it a rumor. But there's different sources that say the Steelers' intentions are to extend Harris,
Mhm.
which we talked about that would make sense if they want to say extend him 2 years for 14 million or say 15 million, and actually they could do that now. They just didn't want to be locked into uh, that 5th year deal. There's no reason to sign him to the 5th year deal if your real plan is to do a 2 year extension or
Mhm.
even a 3 year extension. So I believe they are going to extend him, and they're trying to do team friendly deals. And the thing is Harris should want to be in Pittsburgh even more so now than ever because he beat his head against the center back wall trying to run the ball for the first 2-3 seasons. Now he actually should have an improved offensive line with improved quarterback play and a real offensive coordinator for the first time. I think that he should want to be there and be part of something that could really be something special. So yeah, I didn't read anything else into it. I think that they want to extend him, and I think he wants to be here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think some of the concern has been some of the concerns for that's fueled up the rumors where that Najee's been vocal about how running backs don't get paid and things like that,
Mhm.
and understandable. They don't. It's
No,
a
and I think all the running backs have talked about it. It
Yeah,
isn't just
exactly.
him. And if we was in the same situation and the NFL is kind of put that ceiling on your what you're worth, you're going to try to unite with the other running backs and try to get that price up there to something more reasonable because they've really undercut it big time now.
Yeah,
Used to guys were making over 10 million, and now a lot of established veterans are making 7-8 million. So uh, I mean, that's just part of the business, but people can't read too much into it. He's not being Le'Veon Bell and say, "Hey, I'm a wide receiver too. Pay me like two positions."
yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And outside of some of the things that we've heard about, post game press conferences that recently came up, I think Najee's for the most part has been a good contributor to the team off the field. His interviews are freaking hilarious, especially the ones when he's come out on the Mexican channel,
Uh-huh.
speaking some Spanish. There it was hilarious, but yeah, no, I think he's going to be okay. But we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get back into the rookie camp conversation and talk a little bit more about these rookies. Don't go anywhere on YouTube. Just stick with us for a few seconds. On everywhere else, we'll be back after a few words from the sponsors. And we're back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Steelers Hangover. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me is Shannon. Shannon, the number one stop for Steelers news and coverage is obviously still curtainnetwork.com. Do you have anything coming on the website here soon, or have you put anything out here recently?
No, last week I did the how that they need to use Justin Fields as a secret weapon, not so secret weapon, because he can be slash 2.0, which a lot of people's wanting to see, but that they really do need to utilize him because one, they always need more weapons, and everybody's wanting another wide receiver, but Justin Fields can fill a lot of needs. But there's different ways they could do it, like working in a series or two a game into the game plan to get him out there, keep him, growing in the offense, learning the offense. Because if Wilson goes down, Fields is going to be the starter immediately. And you'd like him to have some regular season reps as well. So, and I'm working on another article, but I've got a couple ideas of mine, and I ain't sure which one I'm going with yet. But everybody can check that one out from last week as well. And I did want to mention before I forget, our Pump Your Brakes podcast, the NFL draft, they're going to, not the draft, the NFL schedule release is Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So we're flipping positions nights with the preview show.
Oh, nice.
So the preview is going to go Wednesday night and cover the schedule release, and Pump Your Brakes will be Thursday at 8.
Nice. It would be interesting to see the Thursday preview crew kind of taking over the Pump Your Brakes, maybe come in with the little DJ style with the hip hop music and stuff like that. I'd like to see it, see if they kind of can take over that same type of style there. That'd be fun to watch. But make sure you guys go and check it out. And I'm glad you brought up Justin Fields real quick before we get back into that, the rookie minicamp conversation. There's been some recent information that has been surfaced that Justin Fields maybe wasn't the best teammate, back in Chicago with the quarterback room. What, if any, anything do you take out of this type of article or reports that are coming out when it comes to Justin Fields?
Yeah, I was, I read that, and we hadn't heard anything till like this morning is the first time I read about it. But when he was drafted, Chicago brought in Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, two veterans. One, Nick Foles had, won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. And, and they thought that both of those veterans would be a good mentors for Justin Fields. Well, supposedly Fields would not listen to him. Fields didn't want to have anything to do with him. And there was a lot of friction there. Now, again, this is from a Chicago insider. And, a lot of times you have people who are disgruntled because the coach and the GM in Chicago spoke highly of Justin Fields. And, they really appreciated everything he did. And you didn't hear any of that come out when he was in Chicago. Or I was not aware of it. So, sometimes stuff is, I don't want to say clickbait, but you say something negative about, and it's going to drive up viewership or readership. I've not heard anything from teammates that he was a bad teammate. So I'm not putting a lot of credence to this. But, also he was young. We got to remember, I think he was 21 when he got drafted.
Yeah.
And your first round draft pick, you're thrown out there, and he might be like, they're not the same kind of quarterback I am. I'm a dual threat. I use my legs. I got the big arm, and he might not have listened as much because that's part of maturing. So hopefully now at 25, he's a much more mature quarterback, and he can, maybe learn from Russell Wilson some tricks to the trade, so to speak. How to be a professional, and how to stay even keel and focused in the pocket. Because last year, it was funny, Fields 2 years ago almost broke the rushing record for a quarterback.
Yeah.
and he had a huge year with his legs, and he threw pretty good. Well, last year they said, we want you to stay in the pocket more and become more of a pocket passer. Well, there's a fine line. You'd see him last year, he didn't know what to do. It's like he was frozen. You know, his instinct was to take off, but he's like, no, I got to stay in the pocket a little longer. And he missed some big plays, you know, and he still had 2 games last year where he threw 4 touchdown passes. I mean, that's 8 touchdown passes in 2 games. That's about what the Steelers had all year long. So he definitely has a talented throwing arm. He definitely is a great athlete with great legs. Now they got to get the whole package to come together and find that chemistry and that balance.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, it wouldn't be the first time a young quarterback is standoffish with his quarterback room. Ben Roethlisberger brought it up that when Mason Rudolph was drafted, you know, he didn't want his advice. And so he left it at that. He was a little bit standoffish himself. And I think a lot of times, or a lot of times when you have somebody who's entered or been drafted into the NFL, that usually is an indication of a lot of success, right? Yeah. And when it's not translating into the NFL, sometimes you want to blame somewhere or find something to blame, and maybe perhaps thinking, hey, these guys are telling me to do this or that, and it's not working for me. It must be them. They must be telling me the wrong stuff. And, you know, like you mentioned, he was 21 years old at the time. He's probably a much different person now, even if those things are true. And he has to be understanding that he's not coming here to compete for this starting position for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's Russell Wilson's job to lose.
Oh, yeah. But I want to say one thing, and I keep hearing everybody talking about processing. And he definitely needs to improve his processing. Mm-hmm. Some guys never get there. Some guys just don't have it. Because I've said many, many times, the 50% and more of the quarterback position is up here. And mm-hmm. some guys, they don't trust their vision, their eyes. As we know, Kenny Pickett struggled with that. Mm-hmm. And Fields has struggled with that. And guys who are very athletic use their mobility to extend plays for more than one reason, not just to get away from pressure, but to give them longer to process what they're seeing mm-hmm. and let a guy work open. And they struggle to anticipate, to throw and anticipate and throw to a spot that the receiver's going to get to. Of course, that takes chemistry with the receivers. It's not all on the quarterback. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying, and that's why I said what I said earlier, when you're thinking in your head, you need to be focused just on what's going on. But when you're thinking in your head, stay in the pocket longer, extend the play, instead of just playing natural and instinctive, it's going to slow everything down. You're overthinking, which slows down progression. And the last thing I'll say about it, give the kid a chance, but let's look at the evidence. Chicago has a long history, one of the most storied histories in football, and they do not have a great quarterback on their – I mean, who's the greatest quarterback ever in the modern era? Jim McMahon? I mean, they do not have – they are where great quarterbacks go to die. They're the elephant graveyard for quarterbacks. And so whoever is the first great quarterback in Chicago, he's really did something because he's overcome the curse of that franchise. So I'm willing to give Fields a chance because the kid is supremely talented. And hopefully with the right settings, without all that pressure where he has to be the man immediately, hopefully that will open it up and he will see the field better and process better.
You know, Justin Fields is a year younger than Kenny Pickett.
I think he's 25 now.
Yeah, I think he just turned or he's just about to turn 25. I think he's actually 24 still. He turns 25 this summer. So, you know, Pickett was in the collegiate, was in college for longer, and what was he, 24 when he had his breakout year, or 23 when he had his breakout year in Pitt?
He's 23 in college, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, Justin Fields he's just a little bit older than that age, and I don't think he had a lot of experience in Ohio at the university or at Ohio, and you know, how many years was he in college? I mean, if he got drafted at 21, he was maybe 2 years there. And
well, I think he after he transferred,
That's true.
He was 1 year and then he went pro. So I think that's why he was still 21.
Yeah, so fairly young, not very much experience. Sitting behind somebody like a Russell Wilson, somebody who he idolized growing up, or maybe perhaps even uh, imitated his game after, so to speak. I think this is going to be good for him. Now, I don't think there's any kind of guarantee, or the Steelers are putting too many eggs in the basket, thinking that he's the future. I mean, if they
got a 6th-round draft pick in him,
right? Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. You're paying Russell Wilson under $2 million, and you got a 6th-round pick in Justin Fields. There's no risk here.
None.
This is a great gamble.
Yeah, none whatsoever. So I don't, if they thought that there was more of a legit opportunity for him to be that guy, I think they would probably try to sign him for a longer term or something of that nature, because other teams have watched his tape too, and if they thought that the issues were with the Chicago Bears offense and their scheme and all this other stuff, and none of it was his fault, then they would have traded for him. He wouldn't have been available as long as he was for a 6th-round pick. So yeah, at the end of the day, there's minimal risk, and I think the Steelers are still pretty excited about Russell Wilson, and I think so should a lot of people. He's a guy that has actually done it before, and last year, I mean, his numbers weren't eye popping, but I mean, they would have been if they were here. 28 touchdowns or something like that to 9 interceptions. That would have been nice last year. The Steelers won 10 games. How many more games do you think they win?
Yeah, that'd be a dream.
Exactly.
Steelers.
I think the Steelers win 12 games at minimum. The Patriots, Cardinals games. I think those games are flipped if we have a quarterback in those games. Not to mention, like Mr. Trubisky's play and stuff like that, and everybody else is playing until towards the end. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm excited about this year. But getting back into the rookie camp, I think a lot of talk has been about the Wilsons. You have Payton Wilson, who's the 3rd-round linebacker, and oh man, what's his name? It escapes me real quick.
Payton Wilson.
Roman Wilson. There you go. I was like, man, why do I think it's Craig for some reason? I know it's not, but Roman Wilson, and a lot of buzz about these guys. The Steelers have made moves, just shy of the draft. They saved up $7 million. There's been a lot of talk about them getting a receiver. Do you think that Roman Wilson is or has the ability to maybe stop some of that talk? Maybe perhaps he's the guy that they've been looking for?
Well, Roman Wilson they immediately talked about his explosiveness, his instant acceleration. Mm-hmm. That is going to, I believe they're going to have him in motion a lot, because he's still, he's a very young receiver. He struggles to get off press. So they're going to use him in motion a lot. And to get him open, get him in the middle of the field. Everybody that was at rookie camp praised his acceleration and his explosiveness and his short area quickness. Yes, he's a 4.39, 40, but that acceleration is what matters. A lot of guys can run really fast in a straight line, but can he cut? And do they slow down? And does he have balance? And, is his footwork clean and sharp? And they say that he's next level. I believe that with his physicality, he fights for extra yardage. He's the anti-Deontay Johnson. This kid's a blocker. He's in there. He's wanting to hit somebody. He said, no sock, no rock, meaning that, if in Michigan, if you didn't block, you didn't play. And right. I believe that he's perfect for this offense. I think he'll play some on the outside, a lot in the slot. And I don't think that the receiver's as big a need as everybody else. I'd like to see him maybe pick up another guy when guys start to get cut, or if somebody affordable comes available. But I don't want to see him give up much, because as we've talked about, the wide receiver too doesn't see a lot of targets in Arthur Smith's offense. But yeah, I believe that Roman Wilson is going to surprise a lot of people.
I do too, man. I think that well, like you mentioned, he was in an offense there in Michigan that I think they ran the ball. And in that type of situation, you're not going to be able to see his full potential. And I think that if he had more targets, or even if the game plan was more pass oriented, I think he would have probably, been a lot higher than where he was. I think
Definitely.
he was projected to be somewhere around the 50s range. So he was a surprise being there late in the third. And, yeah, I'm excited to see what he has to come. I'm excited about Payton Wilson. You know, there's been some news. I don't remember if it was out before we talked last or not, but that Cole Holcomb's knee is it's it's
Yeah.
uh, it's possible he may not play this year, or at least early on in the season. And so that brings up the emergence of a guy like Peyton Wilson, who is athletic, who can cover, and I think he really fills that role of Cole Holcomb. Even though Patrick Queen also is physical, athletic, and also great at coverage, but to have two guys there, I think that's what they wanted. And I think that last season, when it was Cole Holcomb and Quan Alexander, I thought that pairing with both of those guys, athletic and fast,
Yep.
really, really propelled this defense to another level. So I'm excited to see what they have in this kid. I know, again, grain of salt, shorts and shirts, but do you think that this guy, how soon do you think he's going to get on the field when it comes to Peyton Wilson?
Well, you bring it up, and that's a great point because Cole Holcomb, when I seen that knee injury, it was so nasty they wouldn't show the replay,
Mm-hmm.
and then you seen it bend backwards. Well, when that happens, anybody's had knee injuries, you usually tear everything, all three major ligaments, but there's always the threat of nerve damage.
Mm.
And the nerve damage can be devastating. That can end careers. You could do a lot with those ligaments, but that nerve damage in the knee can end it.
Yeah.
And so he's back and he's working out, but this is a process. That nerve can regenerate and get some of that filling back and everything like that, but it's a very slow process. So he might miss the whole season. That makes Peyton Wilson's selection brilliant. The fact that he fell there, that could be the steal of the draft because they talk about his football IQ's off the charts. He comes in first day of minicamp. They're trying to run certain offensive plays and they want to show it against certain defenses. They said that Peyton Wilson was changing defenses. He already knows the playbook. He was changing defenses and telling the other young guys where to go and what to do to try to match up. And that ain't what they wanted. They wanted to run a certain play against the unbalanced defense or an unprepared defense, but he was smarter than that. Peyton Wilson already knows. So we've talked about the green dot.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Patrick Queen struggles with that responsibility. That's why when Raheem Smith came in and Patrick Queen flourished. Now Patrick Queen has Landon Roberts to handle the green dot. And behind him, Peyton Wilson can handle the green dot immediately. That kid has got it. He's got that intelligence and that IQ. So it's going to help Patrick Queen more than anybody. And I expect it wouldn't shock me at all by midseason if we ain't seeing a rotation, a 50-50 split between Landon Roberts and Peyton Wilson, because Peyton Wilson is much better at coverage than Landon Roberts.
Mm.
And I believe that both of them can wear the green dot.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for the kid. I'm looking forward to him being a member of the team. The injuries that he had were early on in his collegiate career. He's been fairly healthy the last couple of years. And, he talked about, being a little bit undersized and having to build up and bulk up to get to about 230, 233, so that, he can be durable towards some of those injuries. And it appears that it's worked, for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to bring. He's not a young guy either. He's like 24 going on
24. Yeah.
And so, he's got a lot of experience. He's played a lot of football. I'm excited to see what he can do.
I think he's ready. I mean, I don't think that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to take much time. Mm-hmm. I think at 24, he's a grown man. He's brilliant. He understands football. And as somebody said, very much like Jack Lambert.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he is going to make an impact this year.
100%. And the last thing I wanted to ask you about, and I thought that there was nobody better to ask about than yourself, is about Beanie Bishop. He's a guy that is possibly going to be the slot cornerback. Can you tell us a little bit about him? Does he have those intangibles for the slot position? And what do you like the most about him? And is there any concerns that we should look out for?
Well, at rookie camp, they had tryouts for some other guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony Averett, they just signed him today to a contract, and he's a former Baltimore Raven. He's very fast. He runs a 4.3 something. Beanie Bishop runs a 4.3 something. They both have much better coverage skills than anybody we had last year in the slot. That's Sullivan, or I can't remember who else they used there. There was somebody else that they used that is gone now. They gone it. But Millette the year before, Millette was slower and he was not good in coverage. Both of these guys could cover. What separates them? Averett has the experience, but Beanie Bishop is physical. He's smaller, but he's a very physical guy. He likes to tackle. I'm telling everybody, and I mean it, he's like Mike Hilton, and that he's very physical. He'll lay a lick on you, but he's much faster than Hilton ever dreamed of being, and he's much better in coverage. Hilton is the kind of guy that if you need to bump him out to the outside, he can hold up. If you look at the guys that he went up against, A.D. Mitchell, Worley out of Texas, he went up against a lot of guys drafted this year, and he held his own, and he was a unanimous All-American, first team All-American. So Bishop is a competitor. He's feisty, and I believe that if it ain't to start the season, by midway through the season, it wouldn't shock me if he's not the starting nickel corner.
Yeah, I'm excited about the guy. Like you mentioned, he's fast. It seems like his coverage ability is there. Any reason why you think that Bishop, he went undrafted?
Well, he was a late bloomer. See, we got to remember he started, I think it was Western Kentucky, and then he went to, was it maybe Minnesota? I can't remember. And then he was only at WVU 1 year. Well, he flourished in that defense. He really did. I mean, he accepted the challenge. Now, he's older. He graduated high school in 2018.
Oh, wow.
So he's 24 going on 25, which some of the guys are. But that's what I'm saying. I think he's physically ready. There's not going to be a long learning process, and he's ready to compete right now. So, but his age and the fact he's a 1 year wonder and a late bloomer caused him to go undrafted. But he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. He showed he can compete with the big boys in a Power 5 school in the Big 12. And I believe he's going to come in, and he's already showing that, he just looked quick at camp. They were, we're used to slower slot corners in Pittsburgh. But I think he's going to be ready to fill that role and fill that need. And we got to remember, it wasn't too long ago we was talking about Mike Hilton as an undrafted free agent, couldn't get a 2-year deal. Everything was a 1-year deal. Now the Steelers wish they had him back. And I believe Beanie Bishop will fill that role this year for the Steelers.
No, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. I think that's a position that everybody's been kind of looking at to see what are the Steelers going to do. I know there's been some rumors that Cam Sutton might be coming back. The Steelers went and talked to him. I think that was more just kind of a, how you doing, maybe a feeler. I heard that Cam Sutton was somebody that Mike Tomlin really liked as a person and things like that. So, I don't think that door is going to be, I don't think it's open now, but I don't think it's going to be something that will stay closed, long. I think that if he can kind of get those legal issues taken care of, and if there's some sort of suspension and stuff like that, I think that's when, that decision will be made. But, in the meantime,
now and training camp, there's some time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And he's a guy that if he ends up getting signed, even if it's during training camp or preseason, he's not a stranger to the team. He's not a stranger to the players. Yeah. So I think he'll be just one of those plug and play guys. If he's, obviously I'm pretty sure he's going to stay in shape. And so, But yeah, no, that's going to do it. I'm excited about rookie camp. Next up is going to be the OTAs. And when do those start?
I think 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. So, well, before that, we have the schedule. Remember, that's going to be coming out on Wednesday. The preview guys are going to be showing up on Wednesday. You're going to, don't miss it. I know that's the flagship show. That's the one that everybody goes and watches. So make sure you're tuning in on Wednesday for that. I'm excited to see the schedule. I'm excited to see which game I'll be going to. Do you have any final words about the schedule? And then before we let everybody go,
I'm just hoping for a little good timing, because it ain't always who you play, but when you play them and where you play them. So the Steelers have been doing really good against Baltimore for the last few years, but I don't want to open the season playing them at the beginning of the year. I'd like to see, before you have the big division matchups, to let these guys get a little experience playing together.
Yeah.
But, that'll mean a lot. We'll know a lot more after Wednesday night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing who the Steelers open up against. Looking forward to when that bye week happens. The Steelers have been
Hopefully it's at least week 8.
Right, exactly. Steelers haven't kind of gotten the short end of the stick most years.
They really, yeah.
We'll see how it goes this year. But thank you guys for hanging out and tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're listening to us on your podcast, make sure you give us a 5-star rating and share the content. We'd appreciate it. Tell your friends to tell a friend and family, the whole 9 yards. With that being said, Shannon, take us out.